morning. Welcome to Pot Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We had a little technical difficulty there, kicking a program off. It's like when the ball falls off the tee, you got to come get somebody to hold it. We got somebody to.
Or if you tee it up in front of the tee box, which you used to always yell at me about.
Yeah, because it's against the rules.
Well, yeah, but
that's why they have these two markers. Put your ball behind the marker, not in front, behind.
I mean, we're talking like this much.
That's illegal.
And you lost your. Well,
it's illegal.
But I was trying to explain to you is that I always line it up to the right tee box, marker, and I couldn't tell
here's what you do.
The left one.
You ever watch the PGA Tour?
Yeah.
Watch those guys. You can learn a lot, JC. You got your two markers. You stand behind it, get a visual picture of where you want to hit it. Then you walk up and you place your tee in the ground.
Yes.
And you will be it will be legal.
Pro golf tips.
Yes.
Well, listen, it's not intentional, And so anyway, what were we talking about?
Well, we're going to talk about a lot today.
Yeah.
First of all, we're going to have Brad Culpepper, former Gator, Buccaneer. He's a big-time attorney down in the Tampa area. Will join us around 8:25, 8:30. In the meantime, though, let me just tell you what's going on around Gator sports. We got basketball tomorrow at Thompson Bowling Arena against the Volunteers at 2 o'clock.
Big game.
Big game.
Yeah.
In baseball, we have the Troy Trojans coming in for a 3-game set against the number 1 team in the country. And then
beautiful weather.
Here's what's the best thing going on campus. The number 10 ranked Raging Cajuns, Louisiana Lafayette.
Yeah, rolling in.
They're always good in softball.
Yeah,
3-game set against the number 6 Lady Gators.
That is going to be great. And I might actually get out there.
You better buy some tickets, Chief.
Well,
you don't just roll in like you used to.
I'll just call who I need to call.
And then
don't worry about it. I'll probably see you there. Shocker.
Last night, the number 1 women's basketball team in the country, South Carolina, beat us here. But our basketball team has done tremendous this year.
Much improved. Much improved, QB.
Yeah.
Much improved for the ladies. But, last night, class difference there. But that's okay.
They didn't lose, but by like 14.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all.
Well, South Carolina's going to win the national title.
Good chance. Yeah, good chance. Boy, I tell you, the SEC has had some chances. Mississippi State and now South Carolina actually did win it. And it's nice to see a team in women's basketball from this conference supplant UConn. And, Tennessee used to be the team, the Lady Vols. But it was UConn, it's Baylor, and it's nice to see South Carolina, Mississippi State represent the league as well as they have. So I'm not a big women's basketball fan, but I sure do get interested in it if one of the SEC teams are playing for a championship. I will watch that.
Yep. Also, the Combine kicked off yesterday, and a lot of TV time. I didn't realize it was going to be on ESPN.
So,
but just we had the wide receivers and quarterbacks go yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 wide receivers from representing the University of Florida: Van Jefferson, Freddie Swain, Tyree Cleveland. Van, unfortunately, when he went through all his procedures with the doctors and x-rays and the poking and all that stuff they do, they found a fracture in his foot. He's having surgery.
Yeah.
So
it's unfortunate.
Very unfortunate, but he'll still be an NFL player.
He will.
Freddie Swain runs a 4.46, 36.5-inch vertical. Tyree Cleveland, a 4.47. I think they both had very good times.
Cleveland was one of the 20 players who ran under 4.5. And
Freddie Swain was one of the others.
I thought you said he was 4.6. So
4.46.
Oh, 4.46. Excuse me. So those two did, and that tied for more people. That tied for the most wide receivers to run at that rate or speed since 2014. So a lot of fast guys at the Combine last night. Henry Ruggs, our Alabama guy, ran a 4.27, which was the best time since John Ross in 2013. So a lot of speed on display.
Did you see the vertical jump by Peoples-Jones? 44 and a half. That is ridiculous.
Think about that. I look at the door over here, 44. How far? Much?
44 and a half.
So that doorknob, he jumped higher than that doorknob.
Oh, easily.
Wow. Well,
my vertical is 33 and a half, and that was pretty good.
Yeah.
But 44 and a half is absolutely ridiculous.
So that's almost 4 feet off the ground. So that's that's like a 4-foot putt. You know how far? Those are tough too. So that's a long way. Way to go. Certainly, the NFL Combine is where they display it. But I think the bigger stories right now for the NFL, and you don't seem too interested in this, but I think without it, you don't have the NFL, and that's the collective bargaining agreement.
Well, I'm not involved, so I really don't care.
Well, you're also not involved in the combine. So,
well, I think the combine, I liked watching the quarterbacks because I love listening to the commentary
of how they throw the ball.
Yeah, which they're throwing on air. I mean, every quarterback at the combine should be able to complete and make good throws on air. The funniest thing to me was Justin Herbert. Tremendous arm, made good throws, but he looked so
awkward.
Awkward is the correct word, dropping back from under center.
I watched that when he played for Oregon.
He never took a snap from under center,
well,
but
true.
He's been training, and he still looks
awkward.
Very awkward,
yeah,
dropping from under center. I thought, and like I said, it's on air, but probably the guy that impressed me the most fundamentally in throwing the football, you know who it was?
Well, I wasn't sitting there with you, so
I know
you have
that,
to fill
but
me in.
Let's guess.
Well, I didn't watch it. Sorry to say.
He played quarterback for you.
Oh, yeah, Tua.
No, he didn't throw.
Oh, no, you're right. He didn't throw, and neither did Joe Burrow. It was
he played for your school. And then he played for Oklahoma.
Oh, Jalen, yeah.
Jalen Hurts had the best fundamentals out there.
They said was really good.
But
yeah, that's right.
His problem is when live action, he's not as accurate in live action. He doesn't make great decisions. But fundamentally,
he looked good at the combine.
Fundamentally, he looked the best to me out there.
Well, how much weight does that carry for these guys in the draft? Do you think? Because you're right.
I don't know.
They don't get paid to play air.
If I'm a scout, I've watched a little bit of it, but it's about 5% of what I care about.
Yeah.
I turn on the tape and see how the guy plays when the bullets are flying.
No doubt, and that's the thing is I hope they don't get transfixed into the Jacob Eason and the.
No, Jacob Eason's going to be a good pro.
Well, no, I know, but
I like him.
So you like him better than Herbert?
Yes.
Well, Herbert, he's big and he's all this and there's all that. Had a good Senior Bowl.
They're all big.
Well, true, but I mean, he had a good Senior Bowl. And but I never was really thrilled with the way he played at Oregon, and he did play well in the Rose Bowl against Wisconsin. But a lot of teams played well against Wisconsin, and they had a great senior year. But he would not be one of my top 3 guys I would pick as a quarterback. Would he be yours? I mean, the top 3 to me would be Joe Burrow, right? Mm-hmm. Then you'd have to go with, I guess you could go with Jacob Eason. I was going to say Jake Fromm, but no.
Jake Fromm, to me, here's Jake Fromm. I watched him throw.
Colin Cowherd loves Jake Fromm.
Colin Cowherd also thought that, what was the comment he made about somebody's throwing motion about Tim Tebow? And he had never seen Tim Tebow play because Tim was still in high school. Mm-hmm. He's a moron. Okay. Well, he knows nothing about sports. Let's be honest.
Well, except that he's doing a multi-million-dollar sports talk show in Los Angeles. But
you think he's ever played a sport?
I don't know. I'll tell you what, QB. If Fox paid you, well, I don't know.
I'm not talking about that. Salary, I'm just saying. But he made comments about a guy's throwing motion, comparing it to Tim Tebow when he had never seen Tim Tebow, and Tebow was playing at Nice High School.
They do that.
He was playing at Nice High School.
They do that a lot at ESPN. They say things they've never seen.
Okay, but my point is, he didn't even know who Tim Tebow was at that time he made the comment.
Yeah. Well,
so anyway, back to Jacob Eason, I think, has a chance to be a really good NFL quarterback. I don't know if he's a first-round pick, but he's big. He's got a great arm. He is Matt Stafford is who he is. Another guy that went to Georgia. Georgia's gotten rid of a lot of good quarterbacks when you think about it.
I know. Look at Fields, right?
But back to Jake Fromm. I think Jake Fromm's going to be a guy that's going to be a backup in the NFL.
3rd or 4th round.
For 6 or 7 years, and he needs to go to a West Coast-based offense. He needs to go to the Saints and sit on the bench. He needs to go to like the Vikings, 49ers, one of those places run a West Coast system.
Well, I don't know. I guess you have Burrow. What are some of the other quarterbacks? Why am I drawing a blank on this?
Well, I think Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the draft. Tua would be right behind him, but he scares me about his durability.
Durability and health,
But there's some other guys that I don't know if they are NFL starters. I do think Jacob Eason has a chance to be an NFL starter one day. Herbert, I'm very questionable because of the system he comes out of. Look at what Mariota has done.
Yeah.
He's struggled at times, played well at times, but
he was replaced.
Time will tell.
Time will tell. I thought I thought the funny thing was Joe Burrow talking about, how he's going to be at home. He's going to be close to home. If he would like to be close to home, he'd have all his friends there and all that. That could kind of work counter to your progress if you're that close to all your friends and so forth. Aaron Hernandez comes to mind when he was up in New England. But I don't know. I think Cincinnati has to take him. I don't think there's any doubt they will take him. I don't know what they're going to do with A.J. Green. I do know they have some players at Cincinnati, and I think Burrow, even though he will be close to home, I don't think the distractions will kill him that badly, because in Baton Rouge you probably have as many distractions as any college campus in the SEC or in the country for that matter, and he did just fine there. So after his first year, of course. So
back to Colin Cowherd.
Okay, you want to talk about Colin?
Well, no. The reason I want to say this, okay. How many times? What have you always said about Paul Feinbaum? Does he know sports?
He knows a lot about things that have happened in sports.
Okay, that's my point.
Yeah. Well, I made your point.
Yes, that's the same with Colin Cowherd.
Well, that's what they do. They read about it and they talk about it.
Yes,
That's
but when you make silly comments about guys you've never seen in your life, that's what's silly.
It's true, and I don't know if he's filling time or what he's saying, but
do you know the incident that I'm referring to?
The incident about Tebow?
Yes.
No, I
didn't. Okay, my point is,
I'm not on Colin Cowherd's
I don't listen to it either.
diary.
I was all over Twitter. Yeah. He made comments about, I forgot what quarterback he was comparing the throwing motion to Tim Tebow before Tebow was not even around, is my point. Tebow was still in high school when he was talking about this guy. Oh. But he did it recently. It's hard for me to explain.
Yeah,
maybe one of our listeners knows about it, but
okay. Well,
that's my point was he made himself look like an idiot.
Well, okay. Well, I mean, it wouldn't be the first
But it's no
time
different than Paul Feinbaum. Paul Feinbaum just sits and lets people talk about it, and now you're talking about he's with SEC Network, but when it comes to sports, they really don't know what they're talking about.
Well, look, he's been writing about it for probably as long as you've been alive.
I agree but that doesn't mean he knows sports.
Well, but it does mean he knows a lot about sports,
right? Because he gets information from people, and then he
puts his
stirs controversy.
Well, he puts pen to paper, is what he did before the electronic media.
But my point is,
grabbed him.
When I'm talking about when we're talking about commentating, evaluating. An athlete or something.
QB, you have to understand there is a difference between a columnist and a beat writer.
I understand
huge difference. But it's
difference. But it's no different. What I'm just trying to say
is, he's not a beat writer. He's a columnist.
Right. But even
beat writers, they can say things that you might not agree with. It's okay. That's part of the job.
No, I want you after the show to look at what I'm talking about. It has nothing to do with this.
Are you talking about Tebow still?
Yes, because that's what makes him look like an idiot.
Well, on that subject, perhaps, true, but he's also had enough to garner the interest of people who are willing to pay him a hell of a lot of money to do it.
I'm not worried about that. I'm just trying to tell you, his comment was like saying, okay, let's just say I have a kid. I can't even explain it because you haven't seen it. Once you see it, you're going to agree with me.
What are you all worked up about? I mean, okay, I don't doubt I will, but you got to explain to me what the hell you're talking about.
Because I can't explain it on air. You've got to see the comment.
He's
talking about
we'll pull it up when we get off.
He's talking about comparing someone
I can't get through my day
before anybody knew who they were.
Okay, all right, that's fine. That's fine. I'm just telling you what I know about Paul Feinbaum.
That would be like me comparing Kyle Trask throwing motion to my grandson, who's not even born yet. That's my point.
What if you have a granddaughter? Then what?
No, you're not following me.
I get it. I just love seeing you get amped.
Yeah, because
it's nice to see.
Because I get so irritated at some of these guys that
you should quit watching some of these guys.
I
that
don't.
Bother you.
It was on my Twitter feed.
Well,
people
then
were blowing it up.
You saw it. Okay. Well, what it was?
Oh, it was a huge story.
It was a huge story, and I missed it because I love Twitter.
Well,
what's our Twitter handle?
You thought Tua threw last night.
You're right. What's our Twitter handle?
It's at Matthews Morning.
All right, let's get some tweets going.
Yeah. All right.
You better get a break.
We are. We're going to take our first time out.
Fall off the chair here.
I am because you got me flustered about something. I don't even know why I'm mad.
Well, that's worth the price of admission right there.
That's right.
Taylor, roll that break, baby. We'll be back in a minute.
Time out! Hey, time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, small enough to serve you, large enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Gators Dockside, wings, ribs, seafood, and beer. The best restoration, Masters of Disaster.
Bob in trouble, gets over. Oh, big hit.
Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility.
Our touchdown sponsors are Radware Promotional Materials, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator BTW, Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Miapa Latin Cafe, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Okita America Martial Arts and After School, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar, UF Mover Guys,
The Digital Mortgage Guy,
Adams Ribs, Cloud9 Spa, Wrap Spot, Cold Stone Creamery, Gator Dominoes.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the advertise button or call Freddie Wiebe at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Looking, still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
Welcome back to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Folks, Celebration Point's where the Gators come to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Tommy Hilfiger, Hotel Indigo, Nike, Medici's, Regal Cinemas, and coming soon to HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators come to celebrate. We got a text here on the Titan MR text line. Says... This is from Hack. He says Jordan Love from Utah State may be the third quarterback taken according. I agree.
Love.
I agree. He's
Hack coming through again today.
He is an outstanding player out of Utah State.
Whoever this Hack is, he's come in with some valuable stuff.
I want somebody to find that silly
yesterday
comment.
He told us about the Hawthorne girls. We led with that. Now he comes in with Jordan Love, Utah State. That never entered my mind or yours. So that's good stuff, Hack. We also got another one from Timmy, who asked me if I forgot my banana this morning. It's not with me now, Timmy, but it's in the Dodge Laramie outside in the parking lot. No worries there. Thank you. That's your potassium update today. But listen, the basketball this weekend, QB, the Tennessee game. This is a trap in a way. It could be a trap game for Florida, who's really playing high, or at a high level, or it could be one of those things where the Gators just keep the cruise going, and Tennessee's a team that's starting to falter and sees the writing on the wall, so to speak, for their season, and Florida goes up there and gets a huge win. That would be a huge win because then you have to go to Georgia, always tough. Georgia played them very well down here, as we know, and then the Kentucky game to wrap up the season. That is the way it is, right? Or do they play Kentucky before Georgia?
No, Georgia's all. Kentucky is next Saturday.
Okay, so
the Tennessee game's not going to be easy. It's a hard place to play.
It's not, but Tennessee's struggling.
Well, they are
flat
struggling,
out struggling. Florida's on the uptrend.
They're very athletic. They lost their best player of the year. A week or two into the season.
That's hurt them.
But Rick Barnes is a very good coach.
Yeah.
It's going to be a dogfight. It would not shock me if we lost the game.
Well, no, it certainly wouldn't shock me, but I have higher expectations, maybe.
Well, I do too. No, I do too. But I'm just telling you, when you go on the road in the SEC, it's a difficult place it's hard to play.
It really is. And Tennessee is going to be a good challenge for Florida. Last night in college basketball, basically it's a Thursday night, so that's not a night that we really I wouldn't look at it the same way I look at Tuesdays or Wednesdays.
Because there's no SEC games.
Because there's no SEC games. So you have Big Ten and you have Pac-12 games. I don't know why they call it the Big Ten. It's the Big 14. And in the Big 14 last night, Indiana loses badly. And the reason why I bring up Indiana is because they are 8-12 in the Big Ten. There's a team like, say, I don't know, Liberty out there who's 25-3. And they're going to struggle to get into the tournament over a team like Indiana, who is 8-12 in their league. and is really proven nothing out of conference. And so the point I'm going to make here is that the Big Ten and the ACC, and this could be one of the reasons why we're not seeing a lot of these ACC teams separate themselves other than the top three, and that is because they play 20 games in their league. That's a lot of basketball in the league, and it's harder to play, I think, in the league. You have your obligatory trip to the Madison Square Garden or out to Hawaii. You have the ACC Big Ten Challenge. That's kind of nice. Indiana plays either Butler or Notre Dame in Indianapolis. That's kind of nice. But their non-conference schedule is brutal, abysmally bad. And so is the selection committee going to look at teams like in Indiana that is below 500 in their league, and there's plenty of them, but they play in such a good league, they get the benefit of the doubt over a team like Vermont or a team like Liberty, who's 25-3. What do you think the way they're going to? What do you think they're
those teams go? Probably. I don't know, but usually Vermont wins their.
They win their little conference, and
so
then they're automatically in. True. But some of these gaudy records, like Liberty's 25-3 record, I don't know. Sometimes that'll be good enough. Sometimes it won't. But what should a team like them do if they can't get into a tournament winning 25 out of 28 games? And of course, there's still some games to be played.
Well, it's going to depend on if they have any quality wins, which I'm sure they don't.
I think right. And one of the things though that the ACC has done is it's with these 20 games. I think since they've added 20 games to their schedule, they've lost 30. It's add 30 losses to the collective. And that's tough because it makes it harder to rack up these gaudy schedules. And sometimes you get these teams that don't have these fancy schedules but are really good, but you don't know that because of their schedule, so you don't know where they're going to go. And I guess that's the job of the committee. They'll figure it all out. But what do you think they should do? Should they take an Indiana who has a sub-500 record, who plays in a good conference, or should they go with some of these other teams that are at-large possibilities that may or may not win their conference tournament? Or do they have to win their conference tournament? These Mid-American type teams have to win their conference tournament.
Well, I think it's a combination. You gotta look at the body of work of the smaller school, what they've done.
Yeah.
You know, obviously they win their conference tournament, they're going to make it. If they get upset or what have you, then you got to look at the body of work and see how it compares to an Indiana. Now, Indiana still got games to play.
They do. But Michigan State falls in this category too.
But at least Michigan State, I want to say, has a winning record in the Big Ten.
I think they do. I do. But we're talking about possibly 10 or 11 teams out of that conference. I mean, does that seem right to you?
Well, it's from top to bottom. It's the best conference in the country this year. After that, I would probably say the Big East, and then maybe the SEC. I don't know. When you look at what we're going to do, let's go ahead and get to our play of the day.
Okay.
Speaking of the Pac-12, this is the hottest team in the country. It's your UCLA.
Is that Mick Cronin's team?
Mm-hmm. The Bruins.
What a job they've done coming back. I'm glad.
Well, they were 1-3 in conference play, and now they sit at, I think, 11-5, and I believe they're tied with Oregon.
They are
very hot. So today's play of the day is brought to you by the best restoration, whether flood, fire, or Mother Nature call the Masters of Disaster today. And let's roll that play of the day. Last night, they hit a buzzer beater to beat Arizona State, 75-72.
Pauley Pavilion finally showing some life after decades of mediocrity.
But yeah, they're 11-5, tied for the first.
Yeah.
In the Pac-12, they were 1-3.
I know. No, Mick Cronin. He's done a great job. They have a guy, named Campbell, who had a double-double last night, 10 and 14, 10 points, 14 assists. They win 75-72. And so the Bruins, 18-11. They are second in the conference, and they beat the third-place team, Arizona State, on the home court last night. So that was a big win for them. Good for them. Oregon beat Oregon State. A couple of other games out there, but I don't look at Thursday night games as much. And maybe I should if I'm going to really follow this and try to figure out who's going to do well in the tournament, although I don't think any of it matters until we get to the postseason. Ohio State won last night. They're a ranked team. Other ranked teams, I guess you could all just look this up. But Friday is generally a nondescript night in basketball. You've got the Ivy Leagues that play. They do their Friday, Saturday thing. I guess that's the only time they don't have to study in that conference. Purdue beat Indiana. Indiana's the team I was mentioning earlier. They are 18-10, but they are not good. They have a sub-500 record in their conference.
Sergeant Butterball says on the Titan MR text line, let the small schools in. It would be much more exciting to see a team from nowhere win over one of these Big Ten teams.
And Duke was the victim of a big upset not long ago. And you see the Butlers of the world. I'll never forget when Butler made it to the final game, and there was a lot of buzz around. Gonzaga also is the kind of team that we talk about that does this. But I don't know what we'll see this year. It's really a mishmash. It's kind of like the NBA. You don't have that one team that dominates everybody like you had with Golden State. Now there's about 6 or 7 teams that could win the title in the NBA, and then college basketball, who knows? I mean, it's a throw it up in the air, and we'll see how it comes out. Anybody can get hot. Kansas and Baylor have kind of become the class of the basketball season in college right now, but I mean, they're beatable. They've lost, so we'll see how it turns out. But for Florida and the Gators, Tennessee is the most important thing right now. Trip to Knoxville is huge, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they come out. Brad Culpepper coming up here in about 3 or 5 minutes.
We're going to go ahead and take our break now and get Brad online, and we're going to take our second time out. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios.
Time out! Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, small enough to serve you, large enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Gators Dockside, wings, ribs, seafood, and beer. The best restoration, masters of disaster.
Bob in trouble, gets rid of it. Oh, big hit.
Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility.
Our touchdown sponsors are Radware Promotional Materials, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator BTW, Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Miapa Latin Cafe, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Okita America Martial Arts and After School, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar, UF Mover Guys,
The Digital Mortgage Guy,
Adams Ribs, Cloud9 Spa, Wrap Spot, Cold Stone Creamery, Gator Dominoes.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, podupwithshane.com, and click on the advertise button or call Freddie Wiebe at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Looking, still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
Welcome back to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. John Cornell, Shane Matthews here. We're going to go straight to the Titan MRI text line and hotline. And we're joined by my former teammate and Gator Hall of Famer, Brad Culpepper. Brad, welcome to the program. How are you, buddy?
Shane, good. Glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, Brad, we're going to kind of go through your career a little bit, and then we'll let everybody know what you're doing these days. Talk a little bit about your Gator career and what the transition was like. You know, you came under Galen Hall, and then when Coach Spurrier came in 1990, you know, what was the difference and what made him get the Gator program going in the right direction?
Oh, I don't want to make your head blow your head up, but you and Coach Spurrier are probably the biggest difference in 90. I mean, for real. I mean, we'd always had a pretty good defense, or at least at that point in time. You know, Florida defense had known to be pretty decent, and I guess in '89, you know, we held teams to 10 points, but you know, would lose. And then Coach Spurrier came in and didn't really, you know, mess with the defense too much. I guess he brought in his own guys, but we had good talent there. And then offensively, you know, he took some fifth string guy and you know, put in the kind of revolutionized all of college football with the kind of the throw. I mean, we still ran the ball great, but he wasn't afraid to throw it, and no other team in the SEC was. And he started the trend of, you know, a quarterback friendly offense, and you guys kind of changed the team and changed the SEC, and we ended up winning a bunch of games by a bunch of points, which that was the biggest difference.
Brad, John Cornell here with you. I was the old TV guy when you played, and I remember interviewing you guys after games, and it just seemed like your defensive team before Spurrier was always the one that unit kept you guys in the games. Of course, the one that I remember the most was the Auburn game after you guys went 6-0, and you flew into Columbus with high hopes, and Gary Darnell was there as a sub, and then you guys lost in the last seconds. But then when Spurrier comes, it almost seemed like defensively you guys were able to not take any plays off, of course, but it sure must have felt good knowing that there would be points on the board. Talk a little bit about how that worked out as a defensive player for you, and how that changed the way you played, if it changed at all.
Well, it was so much better for us because it used to be, you'd come out and you'd get a sip of Gatorade and then you're back out.
You're back out.
Being able to come back on the sidelines and sit there for about 5 minutes was quite a change of pace.
Yeah.
No, yeah, in '89, no, we shut down Auburn to nothing, and they had that Reggie Slack play to Shane Wasden in the end zone, and I think Kirkpatrick was the leading receiver that game for the Gators. He caught one pass for like 8 yards.
But you guys were right there, and if Miles had just a finger that was maybe 2 inches longer, he would have tipped that ball away.
Right.
Who can forget it? But Brad, you guys then really turned it on as a defensive unit in '90, and when you guys were playing first year under Coach Spurrier, it almost seemed like that's when I started thinking, wow, Florida's legit. They're going to really challenge for conference championships going forward.
For sure. I mean, I think there were sections of Gator teams, sometimes we had a really good kicking game and sometimes we had a really good defense. Early in the 80s, we had a good offense and good defense, but of course they disqualified those teams. But it was the first time, legitimately that Florida was really good at offense and defense and special teams. Argus Zazeski was a fantastic kicker, and I mean, we were good all the way around, and we rolled the SEC. It's funny talking these days and talking to my kids and everything else. They can't believe there was a time when Florida had never won a Southeastern Conference championship because it got so commonplace in the 90s and the early 2000s and everything that they're like, my son, played. I have one son at Syracuse and one son at Penn State, and I was like, look, there were times, when I got to Florida, they never won a conference championship. That doesn't mean you can't do it wherever you are. And they're like, at Florida? I'm like, serious, at Florida. So anyway, Spurrier changed everything.
We're speaking with Brad Culpepper, All-American here at the University of Florida. Also, the Dratty Trophy winner, which is the academic Heisman winner. Brad, we just got a text from John on the Titan MR text line. He wants to know what your best moment as a Gator was.
It did well. So I grew up in Tallahassee, and obviously didn't go to Florida State. So it was very difficult, losing every year to those guys. In fact, in '89, we had it pretty tight. We had not a very good offensive team, and we had them down in the swamp, and they were an outstanding team, and we lost by a few points. So then my senior year, my junior year up in Tallahassee, we got rolled pretty well. In fact, you guys played good, but Casey Weldon kind of smoked us on defense in '90. So in '91, my senior year, to be able to beat Florida State at home, 14-9, that was a highlight of my Gator career for sure. And it was a hot day, and Casey Weldon was throwing up on the sidelines, and we all had a couple of sacks, and that was probably the pinnacle of my Florida career.
Well, I don't know if I've ever remembered the swamp being that loud on that fourth down, on that last play when he was rolling out to the right and he threw it out. I'll never forget the reaction of the crowd that day. I mean, honest to God, everybody, I think for the first time in my life, I had heard everybody scream at the top of their voice at once. And it was one of those memorable games. And there was a play, Brad, help me remember, that one of your defensive players made as somebody was running down the sideline about to score, and he got shoved out of bounds right down there inside the 10-yard line. Who made that play on defense? Do you know what I'm talking about right before they got down there?
I don't. It must have been a DB.
It was a DB, I think. But he kept him out of the end zone.
Maybe Larry Kennedy or Will White, one of those guys.
Could have been one of those. Yeah, that's quite a day.
But Darren Mickle had a big game but it was so unseasonably hot, and we had all played so many reps on defense, and FSU had one of the top offenses in the nation, and it was kind of like we'd lost 4 years in a row, and it was like, oh my God, we can't let it happen. And I'm telling you, that last play, and to win it on defense, for me at least, was kind of special. But no, I'll never forget. I mean, it was super loud. We could barely hear what was happening, and I think Casey rolled out to his left and then rolled out to his right. And we were all chasing, and the ball went up in the air, and it was all kind of slow motion. And then I think Del Spear and a couple of those guys knocked the ball away, and it was just like, pandemonium, and we knew we had it at that point. I think Shane went out and took a couple knees or maybe got a first down, and it was done. So that was awesome.
I honestly, God, don't know how you and Casey walked off that field.
Yeah, I had knee surgery after that game.
Yeah.
Hey, Brad, when you look at what Dan Mullen's done, I know we're going to talk about your boys that are playing at other schools, but do you follow the Gator program? Probably not as close as you would like because your kids play elsewhere, but does it kind of to remind you of how he's turned it around so quickly, how when Coach Spurrier came in?
A little bit. No, for sure. First of all, he wants to be there. He's a Gator guy. He came with Urban, and obviously he won some national championships with Urban, and I think, just like James Franklin at Penn State, Mullen, this is his dream kind of job. He doesn't want to go anywhere, and he wants to make this program, just like when Spurrier came here. Obviously, Spurrier tried some pros and went to South Carolina, but he didn't want to go anywhere really. But that's the way Mullen seems to me. He wants to be here. He wants to bring this program back to where it was, and he's got the formula, whether it's a little bit of his stuff, a little bit of Urban stuff, in fact, a little bit of Steve's stuff. But he was definitely the right pick. Unfortunately, the coach that was there when my guys were coming out was not necessarily the coach that I wanted to see them play for. But with Mullen, it'd have been a different scenario. But no, I'm very pleased with what he's doing, and he knows how to win. He's not grasping at straws. Steve knew how to win. I mean, you just knew that when he came in, and our first few meetings were like, man, this guy, he knows what he's doing. And it was kind of like when Tony Dungy came to the Bucks. We were terrible, and he kind of said, look, guys, this is the way it's done. And we were buying what he was selling, and it's like the team at Florida seems to be buying what Coach Mullen's selling. That's 90% of it right there. If you're believing what he's selling. Because with the guy before Mullen, I don't think anybody was buying what he was selling.
I agree.
Yeah.
Let's move to the Bucs. You mentioned Tony Dungy. You played 7 of your 9 years in the NFL with the Buccaneers. You were part of one of the greatest defenses with Sapp, Derek Brooks, Barber, John Lynch. Yeah. Talk a little bit about what it was like playing for the Bucs when kind of turned the Bucs into a winner and with a dominant defense.
Well, it was a little bit the opposite of Steve. Obviously Tony is a defensive coach, and he just wanted to build this. He felt that the championship type team would be built on defense, and he actually used a lot of the pieces that were already at Tampa when he got here, and it was didn't care about 40 times. They didn't care about how strong you were. They just cared about you doing your job. It was probably Belichick, kind of like Belichick. Do your job, trust your buddy, and play fast, strong defense, and we'll succeed. And when he first got that, I think it was 96. We went, I think, 1-8, and so everybody kind of at that point was looking around, going, "Oh my God, I don't know that this necessarily works." But we kept drilling into us, believe what this defense works. Monty Kiffin, and I guess Monty's about to have it. He just had an 80th birthday a couple days ago. His name's going to go up in the Ring of Honor. But he crazy Monty, and we actually were extremely fortunate to have an amazing group of coaches. We had Rod Marinelli was our defensive line coach. He went on to be the head coach at Detroit, and then now is at
Dallas.
He's the defense coordinator, I think, at the Raiders. We had, Monty Kiffin. We had Edwards, who's the head coach of Arizona State now.
Herm
Edwards. Yeah, Herm Edwards. He was, ended up being, he was the DB coach. We had a bunch of Lovie Smith, who ended up, being
Hall of Famers on this. I mean,
these were all like our position coaches, and they had just come from college,
right.
And so, but again, they were teachers. And I think the best thing Tony did, and maybe this was Steve's thing too, is he wasn't just a coach; he was a teacher. It was like he was teaching us what to do. And again, it was like we were buying what he's selling. If I got a coach who's going to make me the best at my trade, I'm going to listen to him. It was funny, when I got to Chicago for my last year with Shane, at least defensively, Greg Blouch, whatever his name was. I had come from a system with Tony Dungy where, if we're going to dig a ditch every day at work, but we're going to find gold. And so I'll dig as hard as you want. But when you're going to have me dig a ditch and then fill the ditch back up, and then the next day dig another ditch and then fill it back up, I got no interest.
Yeah.
I got no interest in doing that. You're not getting better. And so that was the difference between some of the coaches I had in the pros and Tony Dungy's defense. I mean, it was like, we're going to make you the best player you can be. And I'm like, I am all in. I'm giving you everything I got. And then when you go from that to something that's substandard, it's kind of like, I'm done. I think I'll go to law school, or I think I'll become a lawyer now, not do football.
Well, and I was going to go that way. You go back to graduate school. How hard was it to go back and train your mind for 3 years of law school, go to graduate school after you're playing football and become – I mean, that has to be like – one of the hardest things I would think any athlete would have to do is to train himself to go back to school in something that is as, I guess, brain intensive as law school, for goodness sakes.
Well, actually, even harder than that, I did it while I was playing. So I didn't go back to school. I actually got my law degree.
Wow.
I retired in 2001 and took the bar in 2002. It took me 6 years. So at the University of Florida, after every season, I would go back and go to school from January to May. And so when I retired, I actually retired and graduated the same year. So, it was a good use of time. I didn't think I'd play 1 year, much less 9 years. So I always kind of thought I need to use, I won the Campbell, used to call it the Dratty. It's called the Campbell Award now. But that had actually, they gave me, which was kind of funny. I was making professional money and still had all my law school paid for with the Campbell Award. But they, gave me money for, to further my education. So I was like, doesn't make any sense for me not to do it. I think 1 or 2 years when I was a rookie, and maybe the second year, I would go golf and do whatever. But then after that, I was kind of, that's a waste of time. Let me go back to school. So it was difficult, but it was sure worth it, because the transition from football to nothing is difficult, and a lot of guys are trying to find their footing when they're, in their early 30s and mid 30s and trying to say, okay, what am I going to do? But for me to be able to get my law degree, and I guess coming out of the University of Florida, I was, it was good, but I was small. So I was a 10th round pick, but coming out of law school, I was kind of like the first pick in the draft as far as getting a job. And I joined Morgan & Morgan. I was there for about 5 years and then started my own firm about 5 years later.
Well, I certainly noticed the billboards down there,
it's funny. We got a text here from Jack. He says, ask Brad, how many billboards does he advertise on in the Tampa area? It seems like every other one.
It's funny.
That's good stuff.
When somebody asks me, hey, what do you do? And I'm like, well, what do you mean you don't know what I do? I go, I guess I need to put more commercials out, more billboards, more buses. If you don't, and they're like, whoa, no, I know what you do. I'm just teasing.
Well, I Shane, he is a podcast star now. Maybe we need to get some billboards and buses for us.
That's right.
What do you think,
Brad? Let's talk about a little bit about your family. Obviously, you have 3 kids. Rex, who's a quarterback at Syracuse University, Judge, who went to Penn State as a tight end. I guess he ate himself into being a defensive lineman at Penn State. And then your daughter is a basketball player still, I believe, in high school. Talk about those 3 real quick.
Right. So Rex is a redshirt senior up at Syracuse. He ended up having testicular cancer and overcame that, and he's cancer free. So he's got his last year there, and they've had some struggles offensively, so I'm hoping he gets an opportunity because he can sling it. And in fact, he tore his ACL his senior year, so he's had a lot of things he's had to overcome. But he's excited, and he'll probably at the end of the day he's going to end up going to law school too, probably down in Florida. So that'll be fun. Judge, actually, he played tight end and defensive line in high school, but they recruited him as a defensive tackle, and he's up to he's almost 295, almost 300 pounds, and 6'5". He's a big kid still. I'm okay that I don't know who the dad is, but he's going to have an he played about 10 snaps a game last year as a redshirt freshman, and I got a big sack against Rutgers or somebody. So anyway, he's going to be in the top 3 rotation next year, so we're excited about it. And James Franklin, it's too bad Florida, he wasn't available when Florida needed a coach a couple coaches ago with James Franklin. He's fantastic. He's why we are at Penn State, and that's a whole different. I tell you what, I mean, I thought the SEC was the only thing in regards to football, growing up and everything, but that Big Ten and those games with 110,000 people at every single game, it's like, and then they have they bring in these RVs and they're there from Thursday to Sunday in Happy Valley. It's like Woodstock every home game. Yeah. It's out of control. So Judge is really enjoying that atmosphere. And then my daughter, matter of fact, tonight they've got she's a basketball player, and she's going to go to NYU, play basketball up there. But they have a Plant High School down here in Tampa is 29-1, and they're the number 1 seed in the state. So they made the Final Four. And today at 12:30 they play their semifinal championship. Game. There's a Final Four. They play today. They're the number 1 seed. They play the number 4 seed. And then if they win that, they'll play tomorrow night for the state championship,
That's
which
cool.
Plant's never won a basketball state championship, so that's kind of cool.
Well, I didn't realize Monica was such a great athlete. I mean, good gracious, where'd they get all this athletic ability?
Smart, good athlete, and survivor, and everything else.
Survivor.
Yeah, well, I was getting ready to bring that up.
Talk about that.
I remember you brought Rex and Judge to mine and Kerwin's quarterback camp years ago, and you tell me, hey, man, my wife Monica is going to be on Survivor. You can't tell anybody. So how did that come about, and then how did you get on Survivor?
Well, they originally had seen that I was an Eagle Scout and grew up at a place called Dog Island up in the Panhandle and was an outdoors kind of person. So then they Googled me and saw my wife, or Googled my wife. This is Survivor casting people. And then they said, well, would you be interested in Amazing Race? And we're all like, well, I'd much rather do something with my wife than without. And then that kind of fizzled out, and they said, well, back on Survivor, but we don't want you, we want your wife. And I was like, okay, well, she's never even camped out before, but that's fine. So anyway, she ended up going, and then we ended up playing together, which was impossible. Don't ever play Survivor with your loved one, because it's like, oh my God, they pitted us against each other, and there wasn't any way I was going to vote her out. So anyway, I ended up going her. She made it all the way to the end and stayed 40 days on the island and came in second. And then I went back and played on a thing called Game Changers by myself finally. And so then I made it all the way to the end and played 40 days and came in second too. So we've got a household. We both played about 60 days of Survivor. And I don't know. They're calling us for future. We'll see what happens.
I mean, is it just miserable or what? I mean, did you enjoy eating like all those bugs and stuff?
Yeah, no, it's miserable for sure. You're sleeping in dirt. There's no bathroom. You go out in the water, and I went from 200 pounds to like 170.
That's awesome.
So it's misery, but you're all running in mud. So as long as we're all running in mud, I'll run longest.
Well, I mean, you're talking to two guys right now. If we're not in a hotel when we travel, we're not going. So
it's not for everybody.
It's definitely not. Well, Brad, listen, man, this has been a real treat, and it's certainly you've done so much with your life. This whole story. You can write a book about this.
Yeah, I got one more question before we let you go, Brad.
All the stuff he's done.
Your former teammate John Lynch, who's done a tremendous job as general manager with the 49ers. Yeah. He has built that defense, in my opinion, exactly how the Buccaneer defense when you play, rush the front four, put pressure on the quarterback, play zone defense. I mean, would you say that's the blueprint that he's used in San Fran?
Without a doubt. I mean, he made a great move with the quarterback situation and getting Garoppolo. I think, offensively that helped them so much because he saw the talent there, and that was a great move. But there's no question he's trying to build a strong defense and it starts all up front. They've got some horses up front. They got some good linebackers, and then it makes it so much easier. So that's why you get the kid, the real good cornerback who can't really run anymore, but he's that good because he's smart. Yeah, he's a smart player, and he's able to play, that zone defense. He can play some one-on-one, but when you only got to cover a guy for, 3 seconds, that makes it a lot easier because you got the front guys that are attacking quarterbacks. John's done a great job. I think the best thing John realizes when he got that job is what he didn't know. Because I think, whenever you become the general manager, it's like you're thrown so much. And I think he was like, wait a minute, there's a lot of stuff I don't know. So he was able to ask questions and hire people that could answer a lot of questions for him. So John's done a great job. I'm excited for him. Listen, winning the Super Bowl is so hard. Even getting to the Super Bowl is so hard. I hope he gets another opportunity. And there's no guarantees, but they clearly are a pretty young team, so hopefully he'll get back.
Brad, before we let you go real quick, I wanted to just see if you had any feeling on this Boston Globe report that perhaps Tom Brady is thinking about Tampa Bay. I don't know if you keep up with the Bucs today, but have you heard anything like that? And do you have any thoughts about that?
Listen, I'll be super surprised if that guy leaves New England. I mean, coming to the Bucs, I would probably tarnish his. It's hard to tarnish. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. But if I were him, I'd stay put and do what you do up there. I wouldn't come down here in this mess.
Okay.
All right, Brad. Hey, man, awesome. I appreciate you joining the program. Say hello to Monica, and we'll talk to you soon, buddy.
You got it. See you guys.
All right, that's
Thank you.
Brad
Brad
Culpepper,
Culpepper.
former Gator. That dude's done a lot.
Man, he used to have that long blonde hair coming out.
I don't
his
think they
helmet.
have a
He
whole
was
lot of like
crazy
laying
on
around the
defensive
house
line.
at their compound.
It's amazing all the things that are going on in his life and his family, and I think, and I should have asked him that. I just was going to say it's a bigger threat, and all dads say this of their kids who play sports, but obviously having all three of your children involved in sports, and two of whom are already in college, and it's got to be hard to keep up with on the weekend. You know?
I mean, he's got
good
one
for
in
him.
Syracuse, which is
Good for
going to be
him.
Rex's senior year, and then you got one in College Station.
Penn State.
Penn State.
That'd be State College.
State College, not College Station. That'd be an
that's
A&M.
an A&M. But and then there's College Park in Maryland. But what a life this guy is living. Good for him, and I really admire him for going to
Survivor.
Well, not necessarily that, although that is incredible. No question about it. He was following the lead of his wife there, Monica. But I admire the idea of getting a law degree while you're playing. See, I thought he did that once he finished, but he was explaining to us that over the course of 5 to 6 years, he stuck with it and played a football season, did everything that it required, took his paychecks, and then put them to use to improve his mind and go into the law profession.
Well, he didn't even have to pay for his law school.
Well, I know. Now, that all came as part of what he's done. And granted, but to me, that's his money to spend on that endeavor. And having those billboards up down there, I mean, I always looked at him. I always said, man, that's the same guy who was lined up against Florida State in 1991, chasing Casey Weldon all over the yard. And so, I don't know. It's just cool to watch the evolution of some of these players, and it's certainly that was a treat to have here on the show.
I knew it
on
would
a
be.
Friday.
I told you he was a different cat.
Well, and it's a great story. I mean, but we got to get Buddy Martin, the great Buddy Martin, to get a book going on him. I mean, Buddy Martin just put on Facebook Live.
I should have asked him about
Gator Gold.
I should have asked him about our spring golf matches after spring football that we would sprint off the practice field and drive to West End, and we'd be playing like a nonsome till they turned the lights out on us at midnight.
I mean, that is great. And then there's Kyle Moore sitting in the pro shop playing gin with Scott Dombeck, the pro.
That's right.
For the register. For the register. But hey, man, I love those days. I remember very well.
Today's show is a wrap, brought to you by WrapSpot. A vehicle wrap from WrapSpot will give your business years of brand recognition and increased sales. Call WrapSpot today. We'll see you tomorrow.
Have a great weekend. Go Gators.
All right, we'll see you Monday. All right.